Right, Tony, I'm going to try it we are actually in the attic of this building we're in Make in Highton Village, which is a 1970s or 80s building. So we're only in here because the sound's much nicer. So can you just tell me, could you just tell me your name and tell me what you've been doing for the project?
Okay, I'm Tony Mallon. I've been commissioned to deliver the photography strand of the project, and for me that's entailed devising a series of photo walks throughout the borough of Knowsley. Up to this point we've done, I think it must be nearly 10 photo walks. We've worked with students from Knowsley College and then local residents of the borough, and there's a small committed group who come on a weekly basis, and up to this point we've documented Kirby on several occasions, Highton, Prescott, Stockbridge Village, and we're going to be doing Halewood tomorrow. It's been fascinating taking part in the project as well, because we've got local residents who have a lot of knowledge about the particular places that we're photographing, and one guy in particular, Jay, who is a local resident in Kirby, he's accompanied us on the walks, and the knowledge that he has of the place and the history, and it goes beyond the farming, but he does know so much of the farming, and it's added a rich layer to the project and to the photography walk, you know, with him being so knowledgeable and so informative. And I think I've fed that back. I think it's interesting to maybe in the future something similar, to have like a local historian to be part of that. And I know that the group, who none of them, I think, are not from Kirby, it was only Jay, who have really been interested and keen, and I've really enjoyed that aspect to the project. So we were doing the photography walk, especially the ones in Kirby. Jay would be just telling us everything. Now, I was brought up in Kirby. I'm older than Jay, and there's a few things that I've forgotten about. And he'd be telling me, like, "Are you sure?" I go, "Yes, don't you remember?" I said, No. I said, he's got a photographic memory, this guy, but he knows so much. So in Kirby, we've also got some of really historical significance, because in the Second World War, there was the ROF factory. So a Royal Ordnance factory was built in 1939, and it was to build armaments for the Second World War. It was mainly a female workforce, and I think at height there was about 20,000 staff.
Wow.
For them to obtain that land, they had to put compulsory purchase orders on 12 farms. Jay reckons it was more like 14 or 15, but it was at least 12 farms, and they were only given 2 weeks' notice.
Right.
And then they had to leave. Now, there's a great photograph in Knowsley archives of an elderly couple who owns one of the farms. It looks like they're talking to someone, quite animated, but they're not in the photograph. And Jay reckons it was more or less when they were told, or at that period when they were told that you've only got 2 weeks and you're going to have to leave. And we're talking about family farms that have probably been there for generations and generations, but they were only given 2 weeks' notice, and you had to leave. I mean, so I find that fascinating. To find that, I mean, I was aware of that anyway, but Jay was to impart that knowledge to the group during the photography walk, which is so important. And it's those things that are overlooked. Yeah, those historical things, you know, and the human aspect of it, and the impact it can have. And of course, people might say, well, it was the war and it was part of the war effort. This is needed to defeat the enemy, to defeat Germany, but got to think of it more on a personal level as well, the impact, which is probably overlooked or not, of these families who were devastated. And I'm sure they might not have got any financial compensation. What happened to them? Yeah. And it is such, that area, it was huge, absolutely huge, which then later, after the war, you've got this huge size with buildings. So Liverpool Corporation decided we could buy this, and then it was the birth of the Kirby Industrial Estate. Yeah. And then it was from that Kirby Industrial Estate where the reason why my mum and dad, because my dad lived, as he called it, over the bridge. Scotland Road. Oh, I know it. So from the, as they say, is him, like from the slums, people left and moved to Kirby. Yeah. And because they promised that there were so many jobs there, so let's move up there, you know. And as he said at the end of the week, you'd hear it from a friend or someone else. Well, you know, the thing goes next door, they're paying extra, you know, that you can get more an hour from doing that kind of work. And so that's what people used to do, because there was a huge need for a workforce at this industrial estate. So that's how my parents relocated, and for them it was like, wow, we haven't got the outdoor toilet anymore, it's indoors, and we've got a garden. And for most people it was like paradise. It's like, wow, we've made it. Now, as a kid growing up, it was amazing, because where we lived on Somerset Lane, it's now opposite is Liverpool's training ground. But before that, it was all football fields. And so for me, you know, you're coming in from school, you just have your tea and you're straight out with your friends until for like 5 or 6 hours till you get called in. So that area though, where we can overlook in the Cable Industrial Estate, was also our playground. So as a child, especially in the summer months, you'd be going off and your mum was saying, when you're back, I'll be back sometime in the evening. As long as I've got some sandwiches with me and some water, I'm fine. And then we go exploring, and we go a lot through the Cable Industrial Estate, so there was still evidence of the ROF buildings. And then we go beyond, I think it was on the east side, it was called, we called it Spinney Woods. But it's Acorn Plantation. So a little woodland. And we would go up there, and we were thinking like we've gone something on holiday here or somewhere else. And then by Spinney Woods, all along there was farmland. So I remember particularly in that summer of 76, when it was really, really hot. We spent a lot of days up in that area, and then getting onto the farms and just playing around. So for me, it was sort of, I look back with so many fond memories. It was like every day was like an adventure. You know, it's just, and it was brilliant. You know, you come back and then you think you have been to another country. You know, I had this beautiful experience. So that's sort of one of the early memories, or growing up in Kirby in Northwood.
That is, I mean, what an amazing way you've just described that. Can I ask you, is there anything, so you've got this relationship with Knowsley that's about you living here. Were you born here then, or were you born in Liverpool and when your parents moved?
No, we were living in Kirby when I was born.
Oh, great. So you're born and bred. So you've got this beautiful personal relationship with the borough. And now you've come on as the photographer for the Feeding Knowsley project. Is there anything surprising that has happened through, because you've been doing photo walks, haven't you, to different farms, or the sites of different farms, often they're gone. Is there anything that surprised you about what you've found out, what you've seen?
I think the thing that struck me the most was and I've been brought up in Kirby. Of course, you knew a little about Kirby and its past, but I think this project is reinforced and sort of how important the farming heritage was to the borough, and especially in particular to Kirby. You know, through the research, you were trying to identify those former farms. There's so many. There's that many that we can't even document them. We can't document them in one photo walk. You probably could just focus on a project just on Kirby. And it was surprising, just wow, just that Kirby was just farmland after farmland after farmland. So that's really something that sort of is his home, really. And the other thing is, like, it's interesting because you sort of, it's like a reconnecting to the past, your past as well, with the borough. Because I did my art foundation course in Prescott. Well, it was Heighton's College, but they had the what do you call it? Another site.
Like a campus.
Like another campus. So
Yeah.
it was in Prescott. So again, it's this thing where you sort of would be going around to places which you're sort of reconnecting to your past as well. So that's been interesting. But like I said, I think we produced a map of all the places we've done and documented now. And it is very, very striking. And you can see that in South Knowsley, there are still the rural parts and there are still working farms. But all the ones, or the majority of the ones that we've documented up to now, are now being replaced by mainly residential.
Wow, so housing.
Yeah, housing. Yeah, just housing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's population movement from the city centre, because the place your parents grew up in is quite sparsely populated now, really.
Yeah.
A lot of people did move to these overspills or whatever you'd call them, and for a better life, didn't they?
Yes.
So, lastly, Tony, what will be in the exhibition from your side of the project?
So from my side, we're going to have a selection of photographs taken by the participants. Now, I haven't taken those photographs. I'm a facilitator. I'm there, to show and, pass my knowledge on and skills. So it's going to be a selection of the participants' photographs of sites of where former farms were located. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be in an exhibition in Kirby Gallery.
Fabulous.
And they're also going to be online. So there's going to be a dedicated website for the whole project. And I think this is one of the things that drew me to the project and really finding interesting, is that all the different elements to it, the strands. So you've got the visual art, you've got the crafts, you've got the photography, you've got the storytelling, you've got the audio, you've got the the video as well. So I think it's quite interesting to see that, and that's going to be online as well on a website. So we'll have that selection of those images to accompany all those other art forms, and I think it will give such a depth to the project, but also I think it will make it very interesting for an audience. Yeah. Especially people who might not necessarily be aware of Knowsley. Mm-hmm. I think they would be drawn to it. Mm-hmm. Oh, on the walks. The participants, some of them, you have your conversations as you're going along, but it's also people who don't necessarily would call themselves a photographer, or not even an amateur photographer, but the majority are keen on photography. But there are a couple of people who have not done any photography before, and who said they were very nervous about taking part, which is understandable so, and especially if you think the people that you might be walking along might be very knowledgeable and skilled in photography. And what I've really liked as well, that they've actually said that it's to ease their anxiety as well. So for whatever reasons why, and I know one particular person said they lost their job recently.
Okay.
And so they've been coming along, and I think the idea of just like being out and walking, which was one of the main aims of the project, with the well-being aspect, which can be overlooked, isn't it? I mean, I'm always interested in the history, and also my work draws on archival imagery anyway. But yeah, it's just the impact it's having on the individual with the well-being. And I think, again, that's sort of a lovely aspect to the project.
That it's got this like health kind of benefit as well, and confidence building, because going out and taking pictures, even now in our age of like mobile first smartphones and everything, people still stare at you if you've got like a big lens camera and you're taking pictures of like what they think is nothing. They're like, what are you doing? So it does take a bit of confidence, and I think in those little groups, it's a great like place for people to start developing.
Well, it is, isn't it? I mean, because they're small groups, but it's very informal as well. And people are getting to know each other at the same time. We've ran about at least 5 or 6 sessions now.
Wow.
So they are getting to know each other, and people are interested to know find out about each other as well. But it's good to know that it has that well-being aspect where, like I said, for this particular person, it's helping with their anxiety.